There we go. I can honestly say I'm probably the most excited about this than I've been in, what's it been, you guys, 8 or 9 years since we worked together before. Very exciting times back then. I'm going to give everybody a brief history and then introduce my really good friends, Matt and Jason. But I spent last weekend with these guys down in Las Vegas, and we've been trying to connect, and frankly, they've been chasing me for a few days, and I really want to thank Matt especially for chasing me down, and because I'm running pretty quick, and to get me to listen, and boy, am I glad you did. You know, that's a typical story we hear through the years. Man, if he wouldn't have stayed after me, I never would have heard about this, you know. But this is a really big deal. Some of you know a little bit about it. You're going to know all about it today by the time we're done. But give you a real brief history. I started in the insurance business back in '87 here I'm dating myself, with a company called A.L. Williams. It later turned into Primerica Financial Services, and through that run, I had tremendous success. Ended up meeting a lot of wonderful people. In 1993, after Art Williams left the company in 1990, I left and went to an independent insurance agency called, at the time, National Marketing Alliance, and did that for the next 20 years up until 2009. And in 2009, a lot of reasons, a lot of things in the industry changed. We were at the time, and a lot of you will relate to this, Tim especially, but I was in a situation working with a guy out of Salt Lake City called Doug Andrews, and we were pitching a concept called missed fortune. It's where you'd take people's equity out of their home that was just laying there dormant and reposition it by refinancing the house, doing a cash out, and putting those into safe insurance products. And I got to tell you, I was in heaven. I mean, we were killing it. I know I was the number 1 or number 2 guy in the nation doing this. We flew people in to see Doug Andrews. I mean, it was just like, man, if this would just go another 6 months, we're all retired. It was a very exciting time. And I would recommend all of you, because Tim and I just talked about this before this call, but we're going to probably institute some of those old concepts. So if you go to Amazon and look up a book by Doug Andrews called Missed Fortune, and it basically talks about how people are missing their fortunes by leaving equity in their homes. That's another webinar. But what happened in 2008 is all of it went away because the mortgage situation crashed, equity evaporated for those that had not yet got it out, and you guys know what happened in 2008. A lot of people. I had like 18 rentals at the time. Everything collapsed. It was a bad time, and the insurance industry kind of evaporated for me because of that reason, because it was so much of my insurance career and agency building was around that concept with a mortgage. Well, I started looking for some other stuff to do, and I knew I was pretty good at building and recruiting, so I had a friend of mine, a really good friend, introduced me to Matt Lovelady, who's on the call and going to do the presentation with Jason Brown today. And there was a company called You First that started out of Salt Lake City, and I was lucky enough to get in kind of at the beginning and just had a crazy, wonderful, successful run. And then I'll let them tell you why it didn't last, but there's a lot of reasons, but it wasn't for the fault of the company. I mean, we really did really great. We came out in Success Magazine. I got my picture in there. Matt was in there. Jason was in there. It was just a wonderful time, and we became really good friends. And through the last few years, you know, everybody's been in and out of deals, looking at all kinds of stuff, and I had never really heard from Jason or Matt. I ran into him one time when I had some people flying to Salt Lake for another deal, and we kind of reconnected, but they called me and they said, guess what? We finally found something. And when they say this, folks, it's a really big deal, because I just can't edify them enough about their success. And they're very financially well off. They know what they're doing. They don't just do any deal. So when they called me and I finally got to see this, I got incredibly excited for some of the reasons you're going to see. So I went to Vegas. I reconnected with these guys, spent the whole day with them, and I'm sure they'll talk about Shawn Lucas, who's the kind of the back end Forex guy behind this concept. But I am probably I haven't really slept much since we talked to you guys, frankly, because I'm just thinking of people and calling and people that have debt, and my brain's just going nuts. So why don't we do this? We'll do the webinar. We'll have everybody ask any questions you have at the end, and I'm going to kind of listen in. And if you guys need me to jump in or comment, I will. But this is Matt Lovelady and Jason Brown. They're both in the Salt Lake City area, and they're the ones running this whole deal. So, my friends, take it away.
Hey, Gary, thanks a lot. Everybody, this is Matt Lovelady. Hey, we're glad to be able to spend a few minutes on this webinar with you. And like Gary said, he worked with our previous company. In 2005, 2006, we founded United First Financial that gave a roadmap and an educational platform and software to help guide people's finances and primarily paying off their debt. So for the last 15 years, I've had a great passion for helping people get out of debt, because before that, I owned a mortgage company. And what I noticed the 6-7 years that I owned that mortgage company, and I kept having people come back to me every 12 to 18 months. And after a while, these people became my friends, and I knew them. And I noticed that every time they come back to me, they're paying me $5,000, $6,000, $7,000, and I just seemed to be kicking them further in a financial hole, that they were rolling consumer debt into their mortgages, just increasing that period of time, and I seemed to be putting them in a worse situation every time, and I'm making money on that. So we developed a platform to help people pay off their debt, and like Gary said, we had an unbelievable run from 2006 to 2012, just we're able to help pay off over $12 billion in consumer debt, and we still service all of those clients, but we quit recruiting to that in 2012, and so I got approached, and I've always had a financial services business, that thrives, and we're fortunate there, but nothing truly in the debt space since 2012. And this last year, I was approached by a friend of mine. His name's Ryan, that has been very successful in the debt space as well, sold his company, and he introduced me to the concepts that we're going to be going over and the platform that we have taken the last year to build. And we've been testing this the last 12 months with clients. Because I said, hey, before I put my name on this, before we put this out there in a big way, we have to know that it works with clients. And because here's been one of the problems in the past, a lot of the debt products available just don't pay enough to make it worth it for agents to really push it in a big way. Because I understand a few things. One is it has to make a dramatic effect upon the client, and it has to help them truly get out of debt and do those things. And two, it has to pay well, or we might have passion for it, but we can't push it unless we're able to monetize it in a big way. And so you're going to see this platform does both of those things. It's going to truly change the consumer's life in helping them get out from under their consumer debt. And the second part of the platform is being able to make money with Apiary Fund, and be able to trade currencies. And you're going to see one of the caveats that we're going to get into that is we don't allow or ask the client to use $1 of their own money. They're going to trade our money, and we're going to help them become successful at it. So guys, Jason's going to take us through the presentation, and then we'll go over and open it up at the end. You can ask us any question you might think of. This is a call with only about 30 of us. So you can, ask anything, and we'll go over whatever you see fit, okay? So, guys, Jason Brown, we've been business partners for a decade, and, he truly has built he was a builder with United First, had, 10,000 people in his organization, and then shortly after that, we brought him in-house, and then he and I have been partners for the last, decade. So I'll turn the time over to Jason.
Okay. Well, thanks, Matt and Gary, and Matt's pretty humble about what they did in that previous company. I mean, over $300 million in revenue in a short amount of time, and he was awarded Ernst & Young Entrepreneur of the Year, and just really was the 100-pound elephant, or 5,000-pound elephant in the room at one time in the debt space. And so Since then, we've been in financial services. We've been in the insurance business a long time, helping people protect their families and plan for retirement. And guys, when we put together this platform for Mpower Wealth, both of the products that we're going to talk about on our platform, they're not new. That's what's exciting, is they've been around for 10 plus years. On the debt side, or even longer, 15 years. And so these are things that are tried and true and proven. And when we look at the financial situation of, it doesn't matter, of a family, a church, a business, everything operates off two things, right? P&L, profit and loss. And that's what our platform does. If you're going to improve the financial situation of a family, two things. Again, profit and loss. Get out of debt, reduce debt, increase income. Now, again, everybody's a little different that we've shown this to. Some people say, wow, I like both of these platforms, and I can see how they both can fit together. And others say, I like the income side. Even Gary himself said the income's more sexy than the debt, right? But it's funny, I just met a guy yesterday, and he likes the debt. He's like, wow, I know so many people that can benefit from this. And so, guys, you may focus on both, or, one or the other might, be your niche. But we're going to talk about getting out of debt first. And, we always talk about just the pain and that brings up debt. This call here, guys, I'm going to kind of flip through a lot of the fluff, if that's all right, things that we'll actually use to sell the products. But and I'm going to try and just show more nuts and bolts. When we talk about debt, there's basically two types, right? There's unsecured. That's your credit cards and department stores, medical debt, student loans, business loans. And then there's debt that is secured, that is backed by an asset, and the lender's protected by collateral. There's not a whole lot of programs out there nowadays for secured debt. There were loan modifications were popular for a while, and you can refinance to a lower interest rate, to lower monthly payments. But, most of the programs on the market today are to help people with unsecured debt. And that's also what our platforms deal with. And, when we talk about debt, again, I'm not going to go down through each one of these like we would do on a client presentation, but the main two that I want to talk about, pretty much every problem in life can almost always be linked back to debt, right? Or financial stress, including your health and, one of the leading causes of divorce. But these two right here can't contribute more to retirement, and they can't protect their family with an adequate amount of life insurance. The hierarchy that we run right now in the insurance business, that's 90% of the time when the person does not purchase an insurance product or a retirement product, it's just because they can't afford it, because they have debt, right? And as a country, we've just kind of got accustomed to having debt, and I'm talking consumer debt, to the tune of, for the first time in our country's history, we surpassed $1 trillion in just credit card debt. Guys, there's over $3 trillion in unsecured debt. I'm in consumer debt. I'm talking just credit cards. And I think it's just because people they get comfortable making the monthly payment, right? They don't know what options are out there. So more than anything, they're maybe shuffling balances back and forth. But as long as they can make the monthly payment, then they're fine. And people have high balances. They get a new card. They rack it up. And as long as they can afford a few $100 on a monthly payment, here's what happens. This is just the all-American family there on the left, right? And they continue to make that payment. And let's fast forward 20 years. Here's the same family. And they're just continuing to make that same payment, right? Because they never pay it off unless they finally end up refinancing a home and paying it off. And, sometimes people just need a reset button. One of the program we used to sell in our prior company, it was great. It got people on track to pay things off. But, people enroll in credit or debt counseling and debt roll down programs. And look, those work. but they take so long. And sometimes people have just got themselves in a situation where they need to hit that reset button. And so, again, what our platform does, day one, reduce the balance by roughly half. And guess what that does to the monthly payment? It does the exact same thing. So if somebody has $1,200 a month going on unsecured debt, day one, month one, that goes to $550 to $600. Now, again, how? How do they do that? Well, guys, there's, Matt and I, and as I'm sure most of you, because I know what kind of group Gary has assembled here today. You guys get approached by everything twice a week, just like we do, right? And in our previous company, we kind of caught something that had magic to it, right? It had that fairy dust on it, where when you heard it, you just went, what? It was a jaw dropper. And I hadn't had that in about a decade, where all the opportunities came along, and yeah, some sounded good and some sounded too good, and in fact they were, because they were flashes in the pan. They were gone in 6 months, but I hadn't found something that literally was just like, what did I just see? This is amazing, until I found out about debt assumption. And guys, to help you get your mind wrapped around debt assumption, you have to at least understand what a contract is and contract law. And I'm no attorney, right? But I looked up contract law in the dictionary, and it says it's an agreement between private parties creating mutual obligations enforceable by law. So if you and I have a contract together, everything in that contract's enforceable by law. But we can make changes to that contract. You can propose changes, and if I accept those, they become part of the contract. But I can propose changes, and you can accept those or decline. So it's reciprocal, right? We both can make changes to the agreement, and as long as the other party agrees, they become part of the contract. Well, here's what you may not know, because I certainly didn't. The terms on your unsecured debt gets renegotiated typically on an annual basis. So have you ever noticed that, man, you get one statement in the mail, it's just a lot thicker than the rest of them, and it's 35 pages of .002 font, and of course you don't read it. But it's the credit card company sends you changes to the contract. They send you new terms, and you agree to those terms. How? By simply using the card. And when I heard that, I'm like, what? Are you kidding me? Like, we didn't even know we accepted the terms. We just accepted a higher interest rate. We accepted a new fee structure. We accepted new amortization terms, simply because you just continue to use the card that you've had for years, right? In fact, and again, we had heard this, and it made sense to me, but I went actually and looked on my own Visa statement, because I'm like, I want to see this in writing. Now, guys, I put the whole thing on here because I don't want you to read it, because you're never going to read it, right? That's the whole point. And look at the very first sentence. Hey, Gary, you might be still unmuted. Why don't you mute yourself? Changing the terms of the agreement. We can change the terms of this agreement and disclosure statement at any time. And then the next few sentences go through and tell how they're going to tell you about the changes. But guys, check this out. Any such change which involves an increase in the finance charge or the imposition or increase of any other fee or charge will not apply to your account unless you, including any authorized user, maybe your spouse, use the card after the effective date of the change. And then it says, if you don't wish to accept the change, you can cut the cards in half and send them back to us, and then just pay what you owe. So, gosh, when I read that, it almost kind of just gets under my skin and makes my blood boil a little bit, right? But remember, contract law, it's reciprocal. So, guys, let's jump back about 15 years ago. A gentleman with a group of attorneys realized that they can do the exact same thing, but in reverse. They can send in changes to the contract with their unsecured debt, with their credit card company. And if the credit card company accepts those terms, they're now part of the contract. And guys, they developed a system a proprietary system that works. And so they've been doing this for about 14 years. The proprietary program assumes the client's debt. I want to say that's Gary. Hey, Gary, I think if you're not muted, can you mute yourself?
Can you hear me?
Okay. Yeah. Let me see if I can mute everybody else again.
I'm muted.
Okay. I unmuted and muted everybody again, so we should be good. So, guys, again, in layman's terms, what's that mean? They go on the debt with you. So they actually go on and become a co-debtor with you on the debt. This gives them limited power of attorney. They now take all the calls, all the communication, anything from the bank or credit card company goes to them. They make payments on your behalf as well. But let's see if I can get this to go again. The proprietary process creates new contract terms and conditions with the creditor. So, guys, in 14 years, they've never had submissions to the creditors be rejected. What's that mean in layman's terms? They renegotiate the terms of the contract with the credit card company, just like they've been doing with you for years. Now, guys, it's proprietary. They don't tell us exactly how they do it, but if you go through their training, essentially what they do is they send in, with a payment, new terms to the contract. And there's about 15 terms that they submit, and they send it in with a payment. And as long as that payment gets cashed, then the new terms are accepted. So, guys, just like they send you a new terms, and if you use the card, you accepted the terms, well, now it's reverse. We send in new terms. If they cash the payment, they accept the new terms. And, guys, it's nothing unreasonable. They don't tell us. There's about 15. I'll tell you 3 of them. Number 1, 0% interest rate moving forward. You know, have you ever had that card that was at 3.9 and then all of a sudden it was at 19.9 or 29.9? Because they changed it on you and you agreed to it. So we send in a new contract that says 0% interest. Another thing is no late fees. Another thing is no negative credit reporting. We're still going to make the payment, but if it's late, and again, the debt assumption company is making that payment on your behalf, correct? No negative credit reporting. So what happens is the creditor is going to break the terms of the new contract, and fees are assessed. Just like if you break the terms of their contract, like make a late payment, what do? They charge you a fee. So as the bank, the credit card company, breaks the rules of the new contract that they accepted, fees are assessed. And guys, here's the part that's the jaw dropper. And in fact, I remember when I showed this to Gary, he literally said, "This is the coolest thing I've ever seen." On average, within 10 to 12 months, the amount you owed is offset by the fees assessed under the new contract. So, for example, you owed them $3,000, now they owe you $3,000, and the debt is offset on both sides for a zero balance. Guys, there's no tax implication. The balance is gone. Now, what does a client do to get started? $250 one-time activation charge and $100 per account. So if somebody has 4 debts, they're going to enroll in the program. It would cost $650 to start. And then they pay 45% of their original debt amount to the debt assumption program. So, for example, they've been doing this for about, 15 years. Their average client has $40,000 in debt. I thought that was high. I'll be honest, when I first thought, I thought, is that, gosh, that sounds like quite a bit. But we've probably put 30, 40 clients on the program now, and our average is actually quite a bit higher than that. But you take the debt amount and you multiply it times 45%, and that's now what they're going to pay. That's their new balance, and they're going to pay it over 36 months at a 0 interest rate. So if you take $18,000 divided by 36 months, it's $500. They charge a $59.99 maintenance fee per month. So their new payment, month one, is $560. So guys, I learned a long time ago, the best salesman in the world is an optometrist, the eye doctor, because it's either A or B. They put that contraption over your face and they say, which is better, option one, option two, option one, option two, option one, option two. And one is always so much clearer than the other one. And so that's what I'm going to show right now. Here's option one, what you're currently doing. I just took this from bankrate.com, $40,000 of credit card debt. I typed in 15%, but people are up as high as 29. The monthly payment is $1,200. They're going to pay back $68,000. And guess how long it's going to take them? 291 months. That's 24 years and 3 months. What's another word for that? Never.
Ever.
Never pay that off, right? So debt assumption. So here's the option two. Same total debt, starting amount. Percentage of debt enrolled. I don't know if you guys have these bubbles on the side of yours, but hopefully you can still see that. Client percentage of enrolled debt, 45%. So now they owe $18,000. There's a $59.99 per month maintenance fee. And by the way, that's only for 3 years as well. 36 months. The new payment is $559.99. I just typed in that, let's say they had 6 debts. So this, it cost them $850 to start the program. But guys, we just freed up $600 per month. Now, my background, again, insurance, financial services, instantly I'm thinking, wow, we just freed up $600. What? There's $200-$300 we could instantly put into an insurance contract, or a way for them to build some wealth with that plan. And by the way, guys, that's month one. They only pay it for 36 months, and then it's done. It's gone. So there's a few parameters on debt assumption. Again, I mentioned for their 15-year track record, they have about $40,000 in is the average client. We submitted a client about 3 weeks ago that had $292,000 in unsecured debt. Just life-changing for that family. They made great money, but they just had a ton of debt, which I think a lot of people, especially in the networking industry, make good money, but they've racked up some debt, right? Minimum debt, $15,000 to get on the program. Now, again, you can, 3 or 4 different debts to add up to that, but they have to have at least 15 to even qualify, but can go all the way up to $500,000. Maximum for one account is $24,500. Now, guys, one thing that we make sure the client understands is it will affect their credit. But again, that's part of the system. One of the terms that we send in is no negative credit reporting. And the bank doesn't actually realize that they accepted that contract. And so, yes, they continue to charge late fees and they continue to make negative marks on the credit. Again, a lot of people in debt already have dinged up credit. But if somebody has good credit and they just have debt, they need to understand that for the next, 24 to 36 months, their credit is going to get dinged. But credit repair is included at no additional cost. And guys, whenever I used to hear credit repair, I used to be in the mortgage business. I rolled my eyes because it was like, oh, great, somebody's going to pay $50 a month for 6 months till they finally get tired of it, and then they stop, and that did nothing for them. Guys, they've been using the same credit repair company for the last decade. They understand debt assumption. They're actually able to go in and get things removed off the credit report because they were reported in violation of the contract. They were not supposed to be reported. The debt assumption statistics say that 80% of the people that start the program with after their 3rd year are debt-free and have their score is as good, if not better, than when they started. So 100% money-back guarantee. If they are unable to get the terms accepted, they refund any money. Again, they haven't done that in 14 years. But guys, not all debt fits into debt assumption. It's such an amazing concept, and again, that's what really raised our eyebrows and got us excited. But then we realized there's some debts that the way they process their payments, or, certain things about them make it where they don't fit into debt assumption. And so we also have a debt settlement option. And guys, if you're like me, you hear debt settlement, and again, you almost roll your eyes, but because debt settlement's kind of got a black eye over the last decade, because there's just been some predatory companies out there that have preyed on people with debt. But debt settlement itself is an amazing program. And we've actually partnered with a company, you can see it on the screen, called Alleviate Financial, A+ rating with the BBB, which is extremely rare in the debt industry. They just do an incredible job with the client. They know exactly the best way to negotiate a payoff. So as you can see here, different programs, similar results. So for the client, the new monthly payment is almost right back to that 50%. And it's for 36 to 48 months, depending on the debt amount, and they're done. So again, if I bring up the optometry close, right, the same credit card debt, but I bring up debt settlement, Alleviate Financial, this one, the payment was actually lower by about $20, but this is for 48 months on this particular situation. So very similar results to the client. Couple things on this. We always let the clients know there can be a tax implication on debt settlement. Of course, they'll work with accountants, and Alleviate Financial works with them. They have a tax division as well. So, what we're doing for the client, year one, day one, month one, reduce the debt by 50%, free up hundreds of dollars a month, and actually be on track to be debt-free. Instead of 24 years, or in other words, never, now after year 3, their unsecured debt is gone. And then we freed up the rest of that $1,200 a month or $1,500 a month or $2,000 a month, and now they're able to put that money to work for them. So, guys, we've just got so passionate about the debt side and what it's done for folks. And we personally, again, before we put our names on this, we wanted to test it out over the past year and started putting clients on it. And it's just been great. Obviously, they're not in a great situation to begin with, right? When somebody has debt, it's causing stress, and they're not happy with their situation. And so we put them on this program. It instantly gives them some hope and light at the end of the tunnel. But it isn't it's by year 3, it's gone and done and paid for. So, what we tell people is, listen, hit your reset button, get with your agent, and find out your new monthly payment. And so, again, guys, this is the presentation that so Tim just asked a great question. How do you determine which debt will fit in? Guys, your first 3 to 5 clients will actually go through our new business department. We have enrollment specialists that are experts on these programs, and they'll actually take your client and analyze the situation. There's not a ton of moving parts to it, but they'll show you. I kind of do it like a sifter, right? Like the very first level of the sifter is debt assumption, and what we can get in there stops there. But what doesn't fit and falls through the cracks goes into the debt settlement and Alleviate Financial. So that lady, that family that had $292,000 of unsecured debt, $190,000 went through debt assumption, and about $100,000 ended up going to Alleviate Financial. So we have a new business department that actually will work with your client, and once you see it 3 or 4 times, then it all makes sense to you. So sorry for the vague answer, Tim, but again, we have debt specialists that will work with you on your first few clients. So, guys, I want to move on. The second aspect of the financial, improving somebody's financial situation, number 1 was getting out of debt, P&L, right? Reducing the losses, increasing profits. And so now let's talk about increasing income. And I know for a lot of you guys, you've got some background in some crypto and some other things like that. And so this is, again, right up your alley. But when people hear, okay, increase income, instantly a lot of people go, well, you mean by becoming an agent? I can become an agent and sell products and increase my income? No, that's not what I'm talking about. Sure, you're going to be able to do that, and that automatically happens almost organically, right? But when people hear I got to increase my income, they think, well, working longer hours, selling more products, and, or get a raise at my current job or get a second or part-time job. Well, what if there was a way somebody didn't have to sell anything? They didn't have to become an agent of anything. They didn't have to go get another job, and they can earn a few hundred to thousands of dollars a month without having to do any of that. And it's one of the largest industries in the world. And again, you guys already know what this is, but when somebody doesn't, it's a pretty big buildup. We hear the term billion-dollar industry and think, wow, it's a billion-dollar industry, and people throw that out there like that's a huge number. Well, what about a trillion-dollar industry? Nowadays, you hear that, right? Oh, man, this is a part of a trillion-dollar industry. Well, guys, what if I told you about an industry that does $6 trillion? Well, guys, when people are talking about the industry and the number, they're talking about in a year, right? Well, I'm going to tell you about an industry that does $6 trillion per day. To give you an idea and help that sink in a little bit, that's 220 billion per hour. The New York Stock Exchange, the largest exchange in the world, does 200 billion in an entire day. This does 220 billion in 1 hour. And again, we're talking about the Forex market. Unlimited earning potential. Set your own schedule. Trade as much or as little as you choose. Trade from anywhere. Trade in your pajamas in the morning. Experience true financial freedom. And it's funny because when Matt and I, when we first heard about this, both of us were like, oh man, everyone we've ever known that trade Forex, it didn't end well, right? And some of you guys are probably nodding your heads right now going, yeah, you either know firsthand or you know somebody that dabbled in Forex and ended up losing money. And again, if all of these things were true, unlimited earning potential and your own schedule and trade from anywhere, then again, why isn't everybody doing it? And I think there's two reasons. They don't understand it or know how to do it, and they don't want to risk their money. Either they don't have any money to risk or they don't want to risk the money they do have. But what if we were able to remove both of those obstacles? Now, guys, you're gonna get the pleasure of meeting Shawn Lucas one day, and honestly, he's changed my life, and I know he's changed Matt's, and Gary's is changing as well as he's got to know Shawn. Just probably the most unique individual you'll ever meet. I don't say this in front of him, but I say he's almost on the spectrum, genius-wise, right? And he started his career facilitating trades in large firms for high net worth clients. He was with, Schwab, and what happened is he got so many clients that they had rapport with them. They trusted him, and they said, Shawn, we just want you to trade our money. And so he was a hedge fund manager for many years. And during that time, he was developing trading software platforms for large financial firms, all of which you've heard of. Guys, you guys probably remember the Get Motivated seminars, right? They these huge seminars that would go around the country and present in the huge arenas with 25, 30,000 people, and Zig Ziglar and all those guys would present. And then they would have some financial guys get up, and one of them was a very well-known, you would know who he was, and he would tout his trading system. And anyway, we had a speaking part in one of those conventions years ago, and I listened to the guy, and I was like, wow, that thing's pretty cool. Turns out Shawn wrote that platform. I just found that out about 3 weeks ago. And again, is good friends with the guy. So Shawn's just literally one of the utmost experts in the country. He was called as an expert witness in a lawsuit between Chinese and U.S. trading firms. And he actually went to China, and they rolled out the red carpet. And his job was to reverse engineer the platforms that these Chinese trading firms were using to see that they weren't infringing on these U.S. trading strategies that were evidently patented and whatnot. So But when he got over there, he thought he was going to be seeing these, this high-tech trading floor. And what he walked into was a huge warehouse, rows and rows of people trading in front of computers, hundreds and rows of hundreds. And he said they were kids. They weren't sophisticated traders. They were high school and teenage kids that were packed in shoulder to shoulder in front of computers. They knew nothing about money. They knew nothing about the market or trading, and they weren't using their own money. They were trading company funds. And so what this Chinese firm was doing is they were buying trading platforms from different U.S. company and in fact, different trading platforms around the world, and they would put 100, 200 traders on that platform, and then 200 on another and another and another. And the bottom half that didn't perform, they would fire, and then they would refine it. They were developing the best platform they could. And Shawn said, wow, I can do that. I can come back to the States and I can do the same thing. And he developed an incredible training platform that takes people by the hand and shows them exactly how to trade foreign currency. He was able to take people that knew nothing about day trading and the market and money and turn them into people that could create a great part or full-time income. And so his whole platform is kind of uses a bee theme, like a beehive, and I'll tell you why in a minute. But his training platform is called the Beeline, and there's 4 levels. You start off at copper, bronze, silver. I don't know where I'm getting that background noise because I've muted everybody. Can everybody just mute your own phone? Somebody is kind of coughing and stuff into the phone. So if you're not, again, I muted everybody on my end, but for some reason somebody's not getting muted. Just mute your own phone. Thanks. But they have 4 levels. Inside each level are different classes and levels, and they get a simulated trading account. So they'll learn a technique and then they'll trade it live on an actual simulated account with fake money. Just an incredible system, guys, and it takes people typically 2 to 3 months to get through this the training platform. But again, so we remove one reason. Man, we teach them everything they need to know about trading and indicators and trends and how to use the software and how to understand the market. But the other reason people would be hesitant to trade in the market is what? Risk, right? Money. I don't want to risk my money on there. And so, guys, he was so confident in the system that he had put together and the education he created. He didn't want people to use their own money. He put $5 million of his own money into a fund, and this was about 8-9 years ago. And he allowed traders to trade his money and split the profits. Guys, that was 8 years ago. 8 years in, last month, $8.2 billion was traded through the fund. He has over 1,500 traders from all over the world. So if you're anything like me, you hear that, and I instantly think, and I know this is where Gary's mind went. He said, wait, did you say international? We're already international. Anyone around the world can become a client. So they trade money from the fund using Shawn's system, and they split the profits. So again, when you hear this, it's just like, what? Oh my gosh, they're going to teach me to trade, and I get to trade their money. So guys, let me tell you really how this whole thing came about with the trading. About a year ago, my wife, our youngest son, just started first grade last year, and my wife was like, gosh, because we've been fortunate enough that she's been able to stay home with our kids, and our youngest is now going to school full time. My wife said, I think I want to maybe do something, and I think I want to maybe. And I'm like, what do you mean, like get a job? And she's like, well, no, I don't mean like something where I got to be there all the time and, have to ask for time off or be there, have that commitment. And I'm like, okay, well, she's a phenomenal networker and salesperson. I said, would you want to find a company and maybe, get into sales and maybe building a team? Oh, no, I don't want the pressure of selling and building a team. And so I basically said, so, babe, you basically want to get paid for existing, right? So, but we went to the lake with some friends last summer, and somebody told us about a trading company, a platform that they teach you how to do it, and you trade their own money. You trade their money for a split. And I told my business partner, Matt, about it, and we're both kind of like, wow, that's pretty cool. And my wife actually started. She started going through all their training, and we actually went and met with them. And it just, guys, that they were good guys. They had a good system, and it was working, but the vibe wasn't right. They really didn't have the same goals as far as marketing and taking this to the masses. And so we just, hey, my wife was going to go through, and maybe this will turn into a good part-time and maybe even a full-time income for her. Well, about 3 months ago, Matt calls me and he says, dude, there's a good buddy of mine. His son plays soccer with my boy. The guys that your wife is trading with, they broke off from him. They took his system, and he's kind of the godfather of this whole thing. And so then we met Shawn, and he is just such an incredible person. His true, and I know we hear this a lot in the industry, literally his mission in life is to teach people to trade. He's very wealthy at this point. He doesn't need the money. He takes zero money out of the fund. He just trades for money. His goal and his mission, he believes he was placed on this earth to help people become traders and become financially independent. And so, guys, it's just such a great fit. It's a great marriage. He is so excited to be part of Mpower Wealth and what we're doing. Guys, before I turn the time back over to Matt here, I saw something just actually either yesterday or the day before. Somebody had posted on Facebook and said, the most important elements of an opportunity are, number one, being at the right place at the right time. I can't tell you how many opportunities that I've seen people that they just happened to be at the right place at the right time. It wasn't because they were good. It wasn't because they were Mr. or Mrs. Wonderful. They just were lucky. They got lucky, and they were at the right place at the right time, right? But number two was surround yourself with the right people. Guys, I've learned so much just from Gary just in the past couple of weeks is the team he's assembling. As I look down through this list here, I recognize a couple of the names, and those that don't, I look forward to meeting you. But, guys, and then the third thing is relentless work. So, number one, being at the right place at the right time. Number two, surrounding yourself with the right people. And number three, work like nobody else is willing to do. So, guys, we feel like we've put together a platform that is just incredible. Most companies out there either focus on debt or they focus on wealth. We're the only platform out there that has put these together. And so, Matt, I think Gary might want us to go over compensation as well.
So, guys, just to reiterate what Jason was saying here, we have a platform that, one, can help really the average American household hit a reset button on their consumer debt. I can take an average American household with $40,000 in credit card and other unsecured debt that's paying about $1,200 a month, and day one cut that down to $550, and not them paying that forever, them paying that for 36, 42, or 48 months, and then they are done. From that day, the interest charges go away. Any phone calls, harassment phone calls, any dealing with that go away. We take it all over and are able to put $600-700 back in their pocket day one. And when I was introduced to Shawn and got to know him, we spent 2 weeks in Europe together. I said, Shawn, look, when I hear your story of what your platform does, at first it sounds like a scam. You mean you're going to teach me how to trade, and then you're going to fund my account with your money? And you don't even allow me to use my money? And then by law and regulation on the 20th of every month, you got to send me any of my profits? And I'm like, hey, why do you only have 1,700 traders on your platform? Why don't you have 17,000 or 170,000? Said, Matt, 2 reasons. One, as you pointed out the first one, when you first hear it, it sounds too good to be true or almost like a scam. And he said, secondly, I'm not a marketer. And guys, over the last 8 years, Shawn has built a platform that we could not do on our own. He has the relationships with the largest clearing houses in the world. His fund does 8 to 9 billion in transactions a month. So we are able to add thousands of traders and get them funded on an account anywhere from $2,000 to $250,000 of the company, the fund money. So guys, I'm excited, and Gary, do you want us to get in commissions, guys? One thing about this is these aren't low ticket item things that, these pay out very large commission things. So we're able to build a large organization and get out there and help the masses. So are you going to unmute Gary? Oh,
I'm unmuted, I think.
Okay. So do you want to open it up
okay?
for question and answer right now, or do you want to go through compensation? What would you
I would go through the comp real quick. My jaw's still dropped after seeing that again. I mean, I can't even believe. See, a lot of people that are on this call, we're networkers, recruiters, past insurance guys or whatever. But if you just go talk to 10 people on your block, they're all in debt, folks. The market here is humongous. In 1988, a company called A.L. Williams started a crusade of helping people, buy term insurance and invest the difference from their whole life policies. And that thing went to $1 billion company. This is 1,000 times bigger than that. It's just gigantic. So before I get too excited, keep going.
Okay. And yeah, we can also go through the packages on Apiary, the package you can buy. So let us dive into comp, and then we'll go from there.
Awesome. Hey, it's Jason again. I let the adults in the room talk, and then when we need to get stuff done, they give me the phone. So the compensation plan, guys, is actually really easy to understand. If you're familiar with insurance and financial services, it's very similar to that. This is a very similar comp plan to what we had in our previous company that did literally hundreds of millions of dollars. And so, guys, we had agents making $200,000 and $300,000 a month, all the way down to $2,000 a month, depending on the size of their organization and the time they put into it. And so there's really 3 ways we get paid. One is called the base shop, right? That's everybody on your team that has not hit a management level promotion yet. Okay. The next thing is management overrides. As soon as somebody on your team becomes a manager, another bonus kicks in, and that's 30% of the comp plan. And then we've reserved 10% of the comp plan for monthly bonus pools, which we'll talk about in a second. But bonus pools actually are a way for you to override the entire company. That's why they're so powerful. So because we're selling a few different products, we are having to convert the money in the door into points, into a point volume. Okay, so Apiary Fund, if somebody purchases an education package, which guys will tell you about those in a minute and kind of how they work, but the plans are of $2,000, $5,000, or $10,000, and it's just 50% of the package price. So if somebody buys a $10,000 package, then it's 5,000 points into the comp plan. If they do debt assumption, now guys, just like Gary said, my jaw's still on the floor. This is what's amazing is the amount of compensation that's involved in these. Debt assumption, 11% of the total debt amount. Alleviate financial, which is debt settlement, 9% of the debt amount. So guys, if somebody had, remember that $292,000, let's call it $300,000 deal we put in, that's almost $30,000 of commission or points. So if somebody has 40,000, which is the average, the commission on that, or the amount into the grid, is $4,400. So it's not on the settled amount. It's not on the $18,000. It's on the 40,000, the total debt amount. And again, then 60% is paid out into the base shop, 30% is paid out in management overrides, and 10% is paid out in the bonus pool. So let's look at the base shop first, okay? People come in and they start out, the 60% that's plugged into the base shop they're going to get 50% of that right off the bat as a training affiliate. And then as soon as they've done $49.95 in team point volume, with at least 1,000 of that being personal, they get promoted to 60%. Now, guys, why do you think we chose $49.95? If somebody makes one apiary sale of the top package, that's enough volume to get them their first promotion. So a 10% promotion up to 60. 15,000 team, 5,000 personal gets them to 70. By the way, there's no time frame on these. These are not done in a month. It's a 365-day look back. I'll go ahead and just bring up all of the promotions. So what's exciting about this is you're gonna actually have a retail market. You're gonna have people that are in financial services that say, you know, I don't really want to recruit and build, but I can sell the heck out of this of apiary, or I can sell the debt. Right? The debt is just totally, it's such a no-brainer and such a good fit for people in insurance and financial services. They're able to free up all that money month one for premium, but they may not want to build a team. So they can get all the way to 100% contract level with their own pen. Now, we certainly are going to get there faster if we have a team, right? Because we just have to do 150,000 in team volume with a minimum of 20 of it being personal. So how does that translate to dollar bills, right? Let's say that the apiary sale was a $10,000 sale, which would be $5,000 commission, and that the debt assumption sale is $40,000 in total debt. By the way, it's paid as earned, and I'll explain that in a second. But if somebody made an apiary sale, and they're brand new, they're at 50% contract level, they still make $1,500. Guys, how exciting is that? $1,500, and it might be their first week, their first 2 weeks in the business. As soon as they get promoted to affiliate and they make a sale, they make $1,800. A senior affiliate is $2,100, and guys, that goes all the way up to 100% contract level. They would make $3,000. We had a gentleman in our office yesterday, and that's what he does for a living is sell coaching packages. And he sells them for $40,000, $60,000, and he makes less than what he's going to make here selling a $10,000 package. So that's a $3,000. He feels like he'll sell 3 to 5 of these a week. Now, if somebody is selling the debt, right? Let's say that we go in on assumption. Do you remember assumption is 11% of the debt amount? So $4,400 would get plugged into the comp plan. 60% of it gets paid to the base shop. At a 50% contract level, that's $1,320. And you can see the numbers as they promote up through the compensation plan. So now even at the director level, that's $2,640. So what happens though is that's paid as earned over 36 months. So it stacks, right? So if somebody does 1, 2, 3 of these a month, 4 of these a month or more, and they're making $100, $200, $300 a month on each one, and it stacks, and that money pays out for 3 years. Okay. Now, if they do pay it off early, then of course you get all the rest of your commission at one shot. But how do we get paid on our team inside the base shop? Well, I'm going to introduce you to a term called spread. And in the industry, people know it as a differential bonus, right? It's just taking the difference of your level and subtracting it from subtracting the level of the agent underneath you from your level. So if you're at an affiliate level of 60%, and your new person's at 50%, and they made a sale, they make $1,500, you make $300 on their sale, right? And again, it's just subtracting their level from your level. You know, if you're a director and you have a training affiliate on your team who makes a sale, they make $1,500, and you make $1,500. Now, spread isn't just one level. That's what I think people have a misunderstanding sometimes about spread. Let's say that you're a director and I'm on your team and I'm an affiliate. I'm at 60, but somebody underneath me is a training affiliate at 50. They make a sale. I make $300, but you're a director. You make the difference between you and me, even though the sale was down inside my organization. So guys, it's just so lucrative to build what's called a large base shop. Now, when I first was introduced to base shop, I thought, man, that's great. But what happens is if I'm at 100 and somebody on my team's at 90 and then they go to 100, guys, there's companies out there, it's called rolling out. You lose them, right? And, man, I just can't imagine that. You worked with somebody, you recruited them, you trained them, you got them all the way up to 100% comp plan in the comp plan, and then they rolled out. They roll out of your base shop, but this is where we differ. We have what's called a generational bonus. Remember, there's 30% going into management overrides. As soon as you're a director and somebody in your team becomes a director, so they hit that 100%, you're going to get 30% of that 30% that's divided into the generational bonuses. If you'll add these up, they come to 100%, right? So 30%. Then as soon as that person gets a leader under them, they're your generation 2. You're going to get a 20% override on all the business in their base shop. And as soon as someone in their base shop becomes a director, you get a 20% bonus on that director's base shop. And guys, that pays 6 levels deep. Now that's 6 levels of director deep. So it's usually a long time before you even come close to reaching that 5th and 6th level. But to give you an idea on how that works, let's say you're a director, you're at 100%. Let's just use a simple example of $1,000 in compensation. If you have a director in your team, you're getting 30% on every sale, right? Which would be not 30% of 30%, which would be $90. You have someone who's at 90%, you're getting a 10% spread out of the base shop, which would be $60. Well, watch what happens as soon as somebody went from 90 to 100. All of a sudden, spread went away, but now I just got 30% of the generational bonus. So rather than me taking a hit by helping somebody else hit director and a management level, I now get a raise. And I get that 30% on every sale in their entire base shop. And then again, when someone in their team rolls out as a director, boom, I get a bonus on their entire base shop, and so on down the road. And guys, I'll end with our bonus pools. So our executive levels are senior director, executive director, and managing vice president. Senior director is someone who's reached the rank of director and has 2 director legs. An executive director has reached the rank of director and has 4 director legs, and an MVP has reached the rank of director and has 6 director legs. And what that does is opens up bonus pools. So guys, I remember in our previous company, I was an agent in the field, and I was one of, I think, 5 or 6 that hit the top level. And my bonus pool checks. What's so exciting about this is you already got paid on those deals. You get paid on every deal throughout the month. By the way, we pay weekly. You get paid every week, and every deal that goes through in your team and your base shop, management overrides, you get paid. And then at the end of the month, boom, you get paid again with these bonus pools. And guys, they get absolutely huge. I remember getting $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 checks at the end of the month that were just because I hit the qualifications for these bonus pools. And so, guys, we take 10% of the total compensation and we divide it up into 5 bonus pools. Again, like I said before, it allows you to override the entire company because now you're getting paid on deals that were outside of your organization because you qualified for the bonus pool and part of every sale goes in there. So the qualifications are like this: personal producer pool. Guys, people hit this their first month. You don't have to have a huge team and have all this production going on. It's just 3 sales to hit the personal producer pool. And it can be a apiary sale and and 2 debt assumption sales. It doesn't matter what the sales are. Again, I kind of think people are going to focus more so on one or the other, right? So they might be focusing more on the Forex and that side, or people might be focusing more on the debt. But as soon as they do 3 sales, they get to share. They get a check at the end for that bonus pool. The pools are paid out pro rata share. So if you have 3 sales and I have 3 sales, but your sales were a lot bigger than mine, you get a bigger piece of the pie. Okay, so it's just 100% fair. The next pool is a director pool. As soon as you hit the director, achieve the rank of director, and you have 30,000 points in your base shop, then you get to share in that pool along with all the others that have hit it. And again, I don't need to go down through these individually, but there's just, again, certain requirements. You have to achieve that level and have a certain amount of volume, and you qualify for that pool every month. No one person can receive more than half the pool. Guys, we want you to build huge teams, but at the same time, we want it to be a phenomenal opportunity for everybody. People like you guys come in here again and have the entire company underneath you, and which is phenomenal. But we want to make sure that everybody gets a share of that bonus pool. So, guys, it's, like I said before, the number one key in an opportunity is being in the right place at the right time. Let me tell you where we're at as a company. About 2 weeks ago when we met Gary, we just kind of started a little soft launch. Our official launch is probably about 3 months away. We have websites, commissions are up and being paid, hierarchies are built, but sales tools they're coming, right? In fact, I hope you don't judge what you've seen today on my PowerPoint skills, right? We have some professional presentations, some technology that's amazing, but this is where we're at as a company in a soft launch phase, and you guys have the opportunity to run for about 3 months before we really hit a nationwide launch. So, Matt and Gary, I'll turn the time back over to you guys. And, hey, everyone, thanks so much for your time. I look forward to meeting you.
Thanks, Jason. Hey, Gary, are you there? Can you hear me? Okay. So, hey, guys, we appreciate your time. We know we've been a while. So I want to open this up to some questions. And we'll field questions. So, Jason, can we unmute everyone? And, Gary, I hope you're...
You know what might be better, rather than unmute everybody, is just they can type the question.
Hey, guys, instead of unmuting everybody to where we have a lot of background, if you have any questions, can you just type them in the chat, and we'll go over any and everything on your mind. Is Gary unmuted?
Yeah, it looks like he might have got kicked off the phone. But,
Maybe we should stop the